Hey, hey. Dad, what's that? Good morning. Good morning. I really don't know what I'm going to be doing this morning. I think it's mostly just kind of chit-chatting and then figuring out what's next on this. All right. Gonna do a little check here. Let's see if they've released the next version of this. Gonna look at WebSys real quick. 2 months ago. Nope. Okay. So these stay. I did figure out how to make the compilation a little faster. Also, um, not necessarily like yeah, the compilation is faster, but not because I made it faster. It's just because I made it not slow. Um, so now I can do a regular build, development, and get a development build, right? A dev build. Okay. And then I can do a cargo check, and it's super fast, right? And then go back to development. That didn't work before. And just to show, I no longer have the hack in here that was forcing the mode to production, which is great. The solution is to add a target to the build here. For whatever reason, um, that solves it. And I don't know exactly why. I just, but it does. Um, I think of the bug, that I had been looking at before, that was describing it. Let's see, is it in here? I think I just closed it. This one. Unnecessary compiles when providing a .cargo config. They go through and they show, that process we basically just went through, um, and they're getting a full rebuild occasionally. Now we didn't get a full rebuild, so adding that does fix it. So that helps. How to code 9. Good morning and happy Friday. How you doing? Oh, it's Thursday, isn't it? Happy Thursday. I almost lost a day. So, one moment. Okay. There we go. Now, sorry, my windows are out of place. Just one moment. There we go. Good to go. Can I link that issue? Yes, absolutely. Hey, good morning, Wardley. You're welcome. Learning Rust by reading the book and in the documentation. Awesome. Excited to get into WASM. Just like, oh, fantastic. And what are you going to use WASM on the server side, on the client side? What are your plans for WASM? I think Rust is a fantastic language for targeting WASM. It's just, they've spent so much time optimizing that workflow. It is great. So let's find something to hack on at the moment. I know there's plenty. We could even just look at some of the fix me's. All right, got a couple. Oh, this is in user. So when we delete our user, on success, redirect back to the user list with flash alert. Hmm. Yeah, that does need the right info on it. Xenocron, good morning. Yes, Rust. And read chat is all set up. We've got Musean has created some very. Why is Rust highlighted? Because we highlight Rust. Rust is orange. So because how about JavaScript? Yeah, no. What else should we add highlights for in there? Actually, this might be a little fun thing to do at the moment. Um, so ReChat 2 has the ability to do highlights like that Musean added and we upgraded to yesterday or the day before. Yesterday, I think. You're not using WASM, but you feel like you're also getting unnecessary recompiles of some crates. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Is it when you're going between like build targets or something? All right. Only Rust. Yeah. Well, if you have colors that you think those should be, let me know. So print config path. Yeah, that didn't do it. I think. Some code that doesn't touch those crates and rebuilding check. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Hmm. So this here is how we get the bolding. So we do like a hello. It's got a little blue color. You can even make it bold. So if my terminal supported more, we could get bold and blinking. We got muted, right? For when that happens. But if you have some other suggestions for these, I'd like to hear it. Local get submodules. See, for me, sometimes it's just because I've updated the compiler. or I guess anything having to do with um, the build flags, right? So and today I don't have the fan on in the background, so I'm happy about that. All right, to the code. So after we delete a user, okay, let's do that real quick. Nice little warm up. Uh-oh. All right. So we can get the flash message. So on success, we're redirecting back to the user's nest, user list. Okay. Now, this response basically want to do one of two things. What kind? That's an actual response. So it would come into here, and a response has okay, and that's a bool. Hmm. So if it's a 200 status, got it. So if it was successful, otherwise, I guess we just send him a message saying we couldn't do it. Oh, how do we get the good morning, robotic head? How do we get the refer? I guess if we couldn't delete them, actually, we don't want the refer. We just want to go back to the oops, to the users list. So in either case, we're going back here. Um, let's see. What do we want to say about this? There was an error deleting. Okay, there. There we go. Nice. Let's give that a check. We're going to be able to check this side of it. I'm not going to bother checking this side. Guess I should have checked for errors there, huh? All right. Gonna go to users. Let's. Oh, unknown type and navigation. I was changing some things last night, so I deleted some extra things that weren't needed. Now we reload. Come on. Does it? Hold on. Pages. Users. See, users list in Flash. There we go. Oh, that's bright. Okay. So we're going to delete this user. Are you sure you want to delete them? Yes, we are. They've been deleted. Great. So that works. Create a new one. Actually, let's test setup. Set up the user that owns the account. Oh, that's me. All right. Now we're in the nav place. Good, good. All right. Oh, what did we change in there? I don't see any change. Maybe a line or something? I don't know. Bouncing around. I did update mimeograph router, but that was something minor. All right, we'll just include those together. Okay, what's next? Ooh, error response. Do we even use this? Oh, we do. Down here. I don't want to tackle that one yet. How about this one? And I believe signing is working just beautifully. So we can remove that. Let's see. How does the login work for us? Because if that doesn't bail, then then it's working just fine. Login successful. Great. So we can remove that. Basically, what the problem is that sign with stir and U8 array wants immutable reference to these bytes. And it's not clear why it needs to be mutable. However, it doesn't appear to actually change the bytes. There we go. Yeah, what's next? Ooh, middleware. Yes, what do we do for this? That might be an interesting, fun little project. Basically this. Do you have permission to view the page? That's the question. And here, um, you can see that this is an async future, right? So we can still have async for all of these types. I wonder if we should have those as async. And if these are async, no, we still need the future. We basically have a setup phase and then something that will be done later. Right, the setup phase goes and starts requests that need to happen on the back end. And this down here, that's just for rendering and doing the rest of it. So we try to collect as many fetches as we can all up front and then send them all out so that when we start to render, it can happen very quickly. Instead of recognizing like, oh, we need data, going to get it. getting some data back, and then saying, oh, we need more data, going to get it, getting the data back, and repeat. Right? So we're able to hit, I don't know, what's our, let's bring the dev console over, bump the size up there. Here, let's take a look at just logging in. Now this actually interacts with a durable object. So it's a request made by a request. You can see that this one took a wee bit longer because of that. Because if they reclaim the durable object, they basically have to start up the durable object in order for you to make the request against it. Now here, this one, what's the timing on this? Right, 267. But if we reload this page, right, 123. $87, right? Less than 100. It's not bad. So once everything's kind of warm in their system, we could get some good times out of it. Yeah. Okay. So at that point, we're going back to middleware. How do we want to do that? What do we want to set that up in pages? Hmm. Oh, could also look at this. How do we know whether or not we're in development mode or production mode, right? And you know what? I did just fix this. Maybe. Oh, what is it for debug? How do you know if you're in debug mode or not? So we do something like that. Only include this if we're in debug mode. Expected expression. Oh, it can't do one line. That's fine. Yeah. Oops. What did I do? Okay. And what happens if you do a secure cookie for localhost? Or loopback? Either one. Uh, except on localhost. A cookie with a secure attribute is sent to the server only with an encrypted request over the HTTP protocol, never with unsecured HTTP, except on localhost, and therefore can't be easily accessed. I think there is a CFG macro, but if it's true that we can do this on localhost, with that, we might not actually need that. Let's test that out and see whether or not we still can log in. Yeah, I think the macro, I think you can actually do a if space CFG and then the condition. I just don't know what the condition is for development or debug. Okay, let's try logging in. And start login. Successful. Ooh, that worked. That means a cookie worked. 302. Cookies. Perfect. And they are set to secure. Nice. We got a little session cookies, all that going on. Fantastic. Okay. We figured that one out. Next. No, no way to avoid that yet. This one here is basically um, if we didn't export everything from WASM, then Webpack is going to strip everything from it. And that causes problems because our code isn't there. Even though we're like exporting this here. Here, let's try. Let's see. Reload. Wait, is this working? Page not, that's expected. Admin. Navbar. Okay. I did do an update the other day with all the node pieces. I wonder if that got fixed. It's either that or I don't remember what the reason was. I'm going. We're going to change this. If there are no more problems. All right. We'll just pretend everything's going okay now. All right, next. Ah, yes. We should do this one. Does the user have permission to update the given user? Hmm. Now, let's say update user. The user has permission to update the user if they are the user. So if you are your own user, like if you're editing yourself, there are limitations on what you can do though. So if you can edit yourself, let's go to that page. Plural. We come here. We cannot edit this if it's us. We can change our password. Can we change our roles? Archived? Save? Can you delete yourself? Probably not. Instead of adding complicated rules for when you can delete yourself, just saying that you can't delete yourself is much easier. Because theoretically, like if there were two admins, one admin could delete themselves, right? Or if there were two owners, then one of them could delete themselves. Actually, I think it only really matters once you get up to owner. So instead, we just can't delete self. But what could you do? I think it's just change your password. Okay. If they are not the user, they can do it. Okay. I don't really want to do this in the durable object. Because I don't want to pipe errors back through like all the way. These sorts of checks, I think we'll have to do one layer up. We're going to take that. We're going to take that into source users. All right. So first, let's go into the user edit, the template. User form. Now in here, we actually want different controls based on what your permissions are. So do you have access to this email address to edit that? Or is it just password? Are you editing yourself? So if we look at the roles, we can see in this giant list here who has permission to create, delete, and edit users. Right? The owner, the admin, and nobody else. So it's really limited. And I think that's okay for this. Basically, if you want different permissions, different access to things, you have to go through the admin. It's very simple user permissions. Okay. So in this case, we're getting the email of who to edit, who's being edited. Now we need to know whether or not it's us. So we need the session. Where are we we're pulling in session? No, come on. That's a search, right? There we go. From user for session. Where were we doing that? That was in account admin. No. Here, yeah, middleware. So we could either toss this on event, right? Kind of like the cookie jar. We could ask for the session. I mean, it's going to be used all over the place. So having it readily available would be nice. And we might have to toss it into some sort of lazy knit here. Hmm. The reason I don't want to do this more than once is because we're doing signing and stuff like that. So I want to make sure that like not doing something is infinitely faster than doing something. So if you only have to do it once, you're saving a lot instead of having to do it every single time you might want the session. Let's toss this into having a session here, an option to a session. Because you'll either have a default session, right, where you don't have an email and you have no roles, or you'll have something in your session. So starting out, nothing. Same thing there. Let's get the session then. Oh, the function session. We're going to try to do this with mutability until we have to do it with interior mutability. Oh, let's check. Is there like a canonical way to do a bust lazy init? What are they using? A lazy transform and a lazy transform. They're using atomics. I'm gonna have to help my wife out for a moment. Let's see. Give me 10 minutes. I'll be right back. I gotta move some stuff. All right. So, ooh. Although if we do have, hmm. So, if we do have a reference to this kind of outstanding, then that's not that great. Especially if it's an exclusive reference. Exclusive borrow. Maybe we pass it in. What about like that? Yeah, let's say that if you're going into something that's potentially interactive, there's always going to be a session object. I mean, this isn't middleware. I would much prefer having some kind of middleware here, though. And currently, I'm just building up this giant list of things that we end up passing in instead of having wrappers that can provide things. So that's coming from this render here, usually in pages. Right? Edit and delete are a little special. One was delete confirmation. Yep, edit and delete confirmation. We end up getting the site config, combining a couple of those values, setting up our response type so we can stream data back, set up the CSP headers, spawn local. This is where we do the rendering and then the response down here. Now, that means here in build widgets. So we take the session, well, we get the session cookie. We're going to pass it in to build widgets, the session object. That should be a different sort of reference. Mutable reference to session. Although, does it need to be mutable? No. It's just a reference, a borrow. So then we have session, and we want to pass session in through here to this point. We also want to pass it in to admin. Ah, yes. I wish session was cheaper to clone, right? Right now it's a string for the name, for the email address, and a vector for the permissions. Don't breathe water. Not a good idea. All right. Whoa. Fish cosplay. Oh, that's it's either that or we do an RC. Actually, let's do that. So we could either toss then this into an RC. If we did that, then we should be able to pass it into multiple places. Hmm. We can now just pass it in there. All right. Type's wrong here. That's okay. Let's fix that. I wonder how RC is going to perform in WebAssembly. All right. Rust RC WASM. Now it should just work the same way. I mean, yeah, because we're in our own little space. We have a whole bunch of memory that we're controlling, and that should just work. Huh. Still wrapping up with my fish cosplay there. Um, that doesn't go in there. That gets passed in here. Okay. Now here, we also need RC session. Expected reference, yes. I thought RC was the same there. Implements clone. Wait, but you don't have to. Yeah, RC clone M5. Oh, moved here in previous iteration of the loop. Yes. Good. Good, good. No such field. Session. Yep. Now back to user form. Who's being edited? Right. Who are we? Session email? I don't know. So what we want to know is whether or not we're editing ourselves. So let's change that. is editing self. Oh, session.email. Well, if they're both options, can we just compare the options? So if session.email is equal to email. Yeah. Oh, perfect. Okay. Um, that's not quite the same, is it? Because what if they're both none? Then you're editing yourself? Let's try zipping them. Cannot move out of an RC. Huh. There we go. All right, so now we know if we're editing ourselves, and we can limit the form fields. So, if you're editing yourself, you cannot edit this piece here. If we are editing ourselves, we just want to label just some text here. Um, maybe we just decorate that as disabled. You know you've been in React too long when. Huh. Disabled ones are not submitted. Because the disabled field cannot have its value changed, required does not have any effect on inputs with the disabled attribute also specified. So we could also decorate it. What about read only? Okay, what supports this? Living standard, browser compatibility. Huh. Okay, good. I don't know. I don't really want it to look like a text box anymore, you know? But to make the backend simpler, we still want to submit the data. So it's more that I want the input to be hidden and then just include a little bit extra. Slices and toggles. Here we go. Oh, interesting. Allows you to hide something based on Boolean expression foo. Only works on empty attributes. Perfect. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay. So then we could say hidden or something. Oh, you're off to bed, robotic head. Well, thank you for coming in. I appreciate it. It's good to have company here. Corto 280765. Thank you for the follow. Until next time. You mean tomorrow? Actually, I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow. I'll try. This is cool. I didn't realize that we could do this, so we might actually be able to clean up some of the size on this. So I think I was having to do if else, if something small was different. All right, so if we do see something like this, like this here, selected, right? So in this case, selected is the only thing that's being toggled here, and that's if the user has a role. Let's see, does this work? Did I just do that? Get rid of these. Same thing here, checked. Oh, that's so much better. Is it label value? I don't remember. Huh. No, I just want text. What am I thinking about? This is just whatever the value is. We could put that in a div. I don't know why we would do that, except to get the wrapping correct. Maybe something like so. Let's see what that looks like. If it's going to build. Looks like it might. Interesting that took so much longer. Yeah, 286. Not too bad. All right. Here we're that. What form were we editing? User form. This is user form. Oh, and here's the label, and here's the hidden thing. Does that look hidden to you? It doesn't look hidden to me. Hidden. Empty. Oh, you're not supposed to be like that. I thought hidden was just just a little tag. You say like, oh, this is hidden. Little attribute. Yeah, it's just hidden. So why input should have that? And we're still in the control. So why did it bump us out of this? That my cursor's gone. Really? All right, cursor's back. So what kind of HTML is it generating? Let's look at that. Got this, this. Okay. So we do that. Toss input on there. But how do we get this hidden? Inline flex. Is it being overridden? Oh. Is it type text versus hidden? No, hidden should just work. All right, well, if we're editing ourselves, oh my goodness. Breathing water is still getting me. All right, there we go. Else we do this. I know how to do it this way. Then I think that this here is actually going to be very specific to which one shows up. So let's just do that. All right, so then we have our password. Roles. Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. Type. See, input has a type hidden. And I don't think. See, we can do these on individual elements, but we can't make. We'd actually have to assign something to a local and then pass it in. So something like that. Let type equals, or tie. I so want a ternary expression here. Hey, Peyton Rules, how you doing? And thank you for that read. Good morning. How you doing? Welcome, everyone. Does new chat not like slashes? Actually, I don't know. Well, it is early. Good morning. Uh, we're cleaning up a little bit of the user editing form. We're using mod, right? That's our template engine. And we're doing some server-side rendering of HTML. It just so happens that this server-side rendering is compiled down to WASM code and run on Cloudflare web workers. Let's see if this actually does what I hope it does. Give that a publish. How was your stream today, Peyton? Oh, it sounds really good. Well, thank you. Um, I did recently, but it's taken a while to kind of tune it in. But thank you. Um, actually, if it's, it might just be the same one as always. I used to use the one on the headset here. So this one or this one. Endless Run is actually endlessly running. Nice. Very nice. Do you have any clips of it? Ooh, this has gone poorly. Ah, you gotta make one. Yes, I'd like to see it. See, it's email input class. Did I get that backwards? If we're editing ourselves, hidden else text. Are we logged in? It's a question. Yeah, because we were editing ourselves. Okay. Now we're logged in. Users. We're trying to get permissions set up. So now we know we're logged in. So then why email? What is this? Oh, interesting. The page's settings block the loading of a inline script source. Yes, I forgot about that. Okay, we'll have to fix that later. Huh. Let me make a note. That's in, oh goodness, template mod? Here we have the nonce. Which inline script did we have? Oh, it's an extension. Interesting. Whatever. I'm okay with that. It's interesting that you can protect your page against extensions by using CSP. Huh. Thing to do. Anyhow, class input. Oh, tie. Yes, it was correct. So that should be hidden. If we correct that, do we get the right thing? No. And if we delete that, do we get the right thing? No. Okay. Basically, I'm looking for having a little roundedness and some beautiful stuff there. We could just go with disabled. Mm. Or we just have a special page for when you're editing yourself. If you don't have access to change these things, should you see it? Oh, probably not. Okay, let's just trim that down. Um, user form. If you don't have access, it doesn't show up. Okay. We did learn some interesting things about the properties, though. That's kind of neat. So this will be text. Put that back. Okay. If not is editing self. Password rules. There we go. Then we have to modify our form to be able to take something that just has a password in it. Maybe we should change our route then because we're not going to have the form field. Right. Maybe we toss email in here. That is kind of nice. All right. Give that a run. Because once that page works, then we'll have to go into users. And if you have an email, that would go there. Right, we do that. Oh, I shouldn't have saved. And that would be an update. Then if we were doing a brand new one, that's how we could differentiate between the two. Okay. We have an update and an insert being completely separate. Okay. That, and I think we need. All right, we'll come back to that. Let's check to see if the page is correct. So if I'm logged in and I'm editing myself, I see fewer elements, so I could change my password and hit something there. But I don't want to do that because that's broken. Let's hit new. I'm going to create Evil Halsey. That is a visitor. Hit save. Now we can go to Evil Halsey and we see the whole thing. But if we go back and go to Halsey, we just see the password. Perfect. Okay, and then if we go to new, just slash new, right? We get the empty form. Now, if the form is empty, if it's empty, the post action should be different. Oh, user by default has an empty string for an email, but I want to know if the user existed. How do we do that? Because here I was just trying to avoid branches down here, right? about up here? No, down here. So if we have an email, oh, but we're not in the template. What is new user? There. Oh, and what am I doing? So if we have a new user, we post to /, otherwise to the email. Nice. Okay, that makes this quite a bit simpler on the back end, because then we don't have to differentiate between update and insert. Oh, what's going on here? Did I miss something? Oh, shoot. Yes. What action? Okay. So we use a local for that then. And I think the error I had before was I had the TY in quotes, which is why it didn't work. But I think this is turning out better. Let's close that at the bottom. All right, new user. Let's see. We need yet another. Because we validate these now, so I can't just make stuff up. I guess I can just make stuff up. Save. Page not found. Perfect. Okay, let's go wire that up. Users. Let's rename this one to update. Then we'll have an insert. There we go. Creates better. Okay. Now, if you are trying to create a user and it fails, let's see, we should probably do some sort of form validation. So we'll get our post data. Now, what's going to be required here? Email, password for a new user, definitely. What's on the form? Roles archived. Yeah, roles. And what happens if we don't select any? And where's our little email thing? A little icon's gone. Uh-oh. Okay. Mm. Okay. Oh. Because it doesn't have the script. That's right. That's fine. Okay, we'll ignore it. That'll be fixed later. Going back to users, creating a new one. So those are required. And email must be an email. And password What is the I forgot the other thing. Data or cookies. Everything else I like about this, except for that function. I mean, it does give you stuff back, which is nice, but okay. So in the case of an OK, that's just the post data coming through. All right. Then we can do other stuff with the post data, right? Validation's been done. If there's an error, we need to do that here. Now, what do we do from this? User from post data? Seems reasonable. Then we send it to the back end, getting the response, and so has been added or updated. I think we should be able to use the OK on that afterwards. Okay. The problem I have with this here, so from post data, right? Because in this case, we say, oh, an email's required. So what if you don't have that, right? Does email become optional too? What about roles and archived? Is everything optional on a user then? Just so that you could maybe send it? I don't like that. It feels like we should have like the version coming from the form that we can parse into and send to the backend. And the version that we can get out of the backend that has everything on it. We then split it between serialized and deserialized? No, we would need both. I'm weighing the effects of adding this, right? Increased WASM size. Is there some other clever alternative? We could use empty email. For email, it makes sense, but what about these others? I guess if you're updating yourself, we're only going to look at the hash anyways. So we could ignore the rest. And we could avoid a bit here. Okay, we'll do that. User from post data. See, this is the same thing. We should be calling the exact same code from both of them for that center section. And then it's just different here or here. And this one should go back to the users or to the individual user. Okay, so we're going to extract most of this into its own function. This. Now, does the backend care that it's an insert or an update? So if we look at, no, it doesn't. Because of the way that durable objects work, right? You just spawn a durable object and set its properties. If it already exists, you spawn the one that exists. It has data. If it doesn't exist, you spawn the one that you want, and you know you update the data. So in either case, you're spawning and updating data. So it doesn't really care. But at this point, we do need to perform the validations. Let's toss that. Fix me. Permissions. Okay. Async function. Upstairs. And what do we want on this? We need the post data. What else do we want? We need to pass in the email address, don't we? Because in the case of an edit, the email address actually is going to come from, or the ID that we're updating is different. We're just going to be moving this stuff in, so it should be fine. But at that point, we should probably... it's going pretty well, Loish. It's going pretty well. Good morning. How are you doing? Oh, you changed your color. Nice. Good morning. Thank you for the follow. Ryman Huam. I probably butchered that. I apologize. Well, let me know if you have a preferred pronunciation, and I will attempt to remember it. Watching some Rust. Ryman. That last little bit is getting me. Oh, it's an Arabic name. Well, welcome. And let's see, what killed us? The emoji? Really? I did one of those earlier. Oh, huh. That's surprising. All right. Well, good morning, Raw. Probably pass the user in. A woman in programming and software engineering. Definitely need more. See, look, we got emojis right there. Why did the smiley face not work? Is it because it's at the end? Here, I'm gonna try again, but I'm gonna move the smiley to the beginning. Oh yes, just if it's at the end. Hey, sure, Shaq, how you doing? What is it? What are we programming? We are creating something called mimeograph. Think of it like if you know what WordPress is or Wix, it's like an alternative to those, but it's serverless. Are you gonna keep me on the game? So mimeograph is serverless. It is designed to be less expensive than those others because you just pay for basically the requests, the time that it's actually spent computing. So there's no database that has to be running 24/7. Um, that's pretty much it. I'm making a website for my neighbors and spending an extraordinary amount of time doing so. All right. We are going to pass the user in, pass the email in. All right, so we need these up here. Well, not for that one, but this one needs email, user, post data. Okay. This one, we end up cloning it. Email. But then, then I won't be able to make any more websites. I will. It'll just be a lot faster because we will have written all the tools for it. We have to wait. There we go. Do that there. This here. Email is coming in. Let email equal to email.clone dot to own. There we go. Okay. We don't have this function closed. Oops. Okay. Let's take a look at this. What's going on here? Found unit. Let's get the return type correct. So it stops whining at us. And oh, we have to pass in event. Let's do that. It's just owned at this point, isn't it? One more here. All right. So we get the body. We're creating a request to the durable object. The user is going to go to JSON. Then we send it. Okay. Now, in this case, we want a different message. That should be fine for now. So we look at 201 versus 204. Ideally, we could come up with something generic like has been saved. Now, when you save something like that, do you expect, as a user, do you expect to go back to the form that you were just on with a little thing that says, hey, it's been saved, and then navigate away from that? I'm wondering if you expect to have like this sort of visual confirmation, because that might be the case. Okay, I'm going to reduce this. So instead of asking for the status, we're going to say, okay. And if it's okay, this is all true. Eh, if response okay, we do this, else the other. I suppose it depends if you might want to perform that action again with different data. Yeah, for user edit though, I don't know. In this case, I think you should go back to the user, right? You have to retry like so. Invalid, if it's invalid, we will redirect back there. So that's what we're going to be doing here, actually. So in this case, we'll be converting these into some common errors that have to go back. And then we redirect to either the new or the edit. Sethson, good morning. Happy Thursday. All right. Yes, we have a generic way to create Flash. Yeah, that's all in there. See? We got Flash Warn, Flash Info. All right. But we will be sending to the wrong spot currently. Okay, so what needs to be generic out of this? Response to fetch. So we save it to the durable object. If it's okay, we say so and so has been saved. Otherwise, there was an error, right? And maybe we should return a Boolean here so that the caller can decide where to redirect to. So let's do that. Bool. All right, so then based on what the response is of this, then we do something here. So if it succeeds after creating a new one, I'm going to go back to users for now. Otherwise, we go back to the new form. You know what? Let's. There we go. That looks all right. Okay, but if there's an error, I want to go back to new. Right? And this is if there was an error updating the durable object, like a problem with the save itself. Okay, now same thing for this. All right, but if there's a successful, we're going back to users for now. Otherwise, we're going back to the form. And the email. Oh, interesting. We can't do a reference here. We actually have to do own strings because I have to build one up. Okay. It should have moved already. Oh, expected stir. Okay. We need some validation in here. Other than just this. So then if we do get cookies here, we keep having the same pattern over and over and over again, right? Where we do this validation, we can ask it to generate some cookies for us. I know that's actually fairly specific because here we end up getting errors. Could say like, let's say we had some other kind of errors. Could convert those into cookies. Give that a stronger type. Like form cookies, right? Like we have to send some sort of information to the next page. See, I don't like this name. I just can't stand it. Data record. This should be like a finish or something, right? Finish your validation. Done. Something like that, right? And based on the validation, um, you get either the post data or the errors. And thus far, I don't think anybody's using this one here. Yeah. Here, couple. Errors is never being used. The only reason we want this is for this. All right. Gonna get rid of that. I'm going to rename that to finish. Yeah. That's only a half success. Because this vector of cookies should probably be a vector of errors that you could take into a vector of cookies, right? Anyhow, all right, so we end up getting cookies back, and the usual thing that we do with them is we add them to the cookie jar that we redirect. So why don't we invert this? And on the cookie jar, let's add a bulk add. And staying in line with this being a cookie jar of function, we're going to say we fill the cookie jar. With a vector. We're avoiding the generics because we have to keep the code size small. And if we take anything that can be iterated upon here, that could be an issue. We could we could take an intuiter, right? But then still it's really tied to just a vector, because it'd be like standard vec, like intuiter or something. Well, thank you. Naming things is hard. I'm gonna go with a vector of these until otherwise. All right. Good morning, Brooke. How you doing? And thank you for the raid. Welcome, everyone. How's your Thursday going, Brooke? So I watch your stream on 2x speed because I only get the replays. And man, you can talk fast. It's pretty clear though. Oh, you're getting tomorrow off. Lovely. Does that mean you're doing a long stream or add original, add, remove? I don't think they have like a bulk. Yeah. No, we could just look here. No, no bulk. Ah, not as long as your Sunday streams. Makes sense. Twitter dot for each cookie. Uh, so, oh, Lord, this is a great question. So, there's this fantastic crate. It's called Cookie. All right. And it is hugely popular and it works really, really well. And it does some cool things like calculating cookie deltas, and it's just fantastic. Um, but it produces too much code. So we basically took this and cut it up. Right? So we have a much smaller version of this. We blatantly copied this. So we have Crumble. Sergio and Alex, thank you. Thank you very much. Um, we basically removed all the features, removed the hash set, right? Because including the hash set ends up bringing in a lot of code, much more than vector does. So if you have a WASM project, you're much more likely to have vector than hash set. So we avoid hash set. And then we ended up removing expires altogether because that requires the time crate. So that's gone. You can still have max age for cookies, but there are trade offs. And for a good reason, right? 41K. And when you're making things in WASM, every little bit counts. Yeah, I don't really want to think about diet cookies because I love cookies and having diet cookies is just I don't know. Like what's the point? At that point just use it like a rice cake. I should have called it like rice cake or something. But yeah, we actually wrap this with our cookie jar. So this cookie jar is wrapping the mimeograph crumble crate, so that we have a better sort of interaction from what we're doing here. Actually, I should just call self.add. Huh, there we go. Yeah, it's the hasher, right? All of that. Because hash set, I mean, compared to vector, right? And normally, like, there's a trade off. Vectors are actually going to be faster, like iterating through a vector of tuples until you get to about 5 or so elements. So if you don't have more than 5 cookies, why use a hash set or a hash map? A hash set is just a fancy hash map with the values as unit. So let's see. Let's go back to fill this. We've got a cookie jar session. Yeah, in this case, we want to do event dot cookie jar dot fill cookies. Yay, cookies. That looks much better. That looks much better. Only allowed 3 cookies, yes. As it should be. As it should be. 5 if you behave. But they're like Oreos without the filling. Just all right. We were going through where we were in users, Right, then we ended up getting cookies here, and we got to do some sort of redirect and all sorts of stuff in here. So what are we going to do in this case? Actually, I'm gonna grab one more piece because we have to do the 3 lines every single time. Mm. Now, in this case, we are sending you back to where you came from, which is the new form. Admin users new. Do you think it deduplicates this stuff? Oops. Or should we have like a const somewhere like it doesn't know enough to deduplicate the strings in the data section? That's right. No cookies for you. It's like a cupcake without the topping. We'll just take the whole, toss it out. All right. That looks decent. I'm going to have the same pattern down here, though, because we have to do the form validation for update. Um, whew. Now, in this case, what is actually required? It's not enough is going to be required. Let's grab that. This one has to be different. Okay, form validation. Gonna call validate. What must be required? You must have an email. Nope. A password. Hmm. That might be empty. The length might be empty. Because if these things are empty, that goes away. And in this case, what if email doesn't exist? Oops. No. Go back to and. And yeah, if we have some, so if it exists, then we will validate on it. So in the case where a user is editing themselves, let's go back. They do not get to provide an email. But in the case where somebody is editing somebody else, they also shouldn't provide email because it's fixed. Oh, that's interesting. I guess somebody could change somebody else's email, but I don't have a separate identifier. The email is the identifier. So if you wanted a separate account, you just create one. All right. And password. Social logins, OAuth style. That might happen, yeah. That could happen. have another separate user identifier. The problem, though, is I don't have a central place to map a login to that identifier. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It's because I could either have all of the login go through one central durable object, but that means that you have a choke point. So I'm trying to avoid that. Um, I mean, if we have to, we might do that later. But I would really hope that's not the case, because that would definitely limit the performance of login. Unless we could come up with a different way to do it. See this? Um, I actually need the same thing again. But only if there's an error. Rich J South. Oh, thank you for the follow. Yeah, durable object. So basically, in a durable object, and this is good to chat about. A durable object, you end up spawning it, right? It's like a service that you just fire up, right? Now, globally, for each identifier, there is one durable object, one instance of that durable object. So in our example here, when I say I'm going to log in as bhalstead@gmail.com, right? And it goes to search for that, we say, you know, where is it? It's down here. Keep going. All right. We're not getting a new unique ID. We're looking it up by an ID from name. Hey, Corner Lord, thank you for the follow. So, so we end up getting an ID and looking up the instance of a durable object by name. Okay. So if somebody's logging in via email, we're using that email token, and that takes us to an instance of a durable object. Yeah, how you doing? Good morning. Any idea for a project that is not website or game? You can build some tooling. There's lots of little things like that. Right. Do you have a need for any tool that would make your life better? Right? Something that you find yourself doing every day. Right. So we end up looking up this one instance of a durable object and then being able to access the data within it. Right. You have to send requests to a durable object and then it responds. So if we wanted to, let's say, map user IDs, let's say email addresses, to some sort of, UUID in the system, we would need a durable object that could do that translation for us. And it would be singular, and we'd have to send the request to that durable object, and it would basically work through them one at a time. So if you had, you know, maybe some slow lookup or something, your login system is going to be throttled by that. You're off to work. Well, take care, Brooke, and thank you for the raid. Happy Friday. You're welcome, Lodge. And there's probably a way to break that up or something, right? But that could be a much more complex system. So until we need that, we're not going to use it. So Thank you. You could have used muted. See? Just a moment. Remember that one time I was like, hey, just a moment. And I came back like 20 minutes later. Yeah. Oh, not today. Not today. So, yeah, in these cases, definitely want those. Do we need email? Problem. Yeah, because if something fails, we actually try to pass all the data back, right? If you're editing that form, oh, all right. Oh, and here's one place where we ended up passing in email. Why don't we always just pass in email? I mean, if email's empty, isn't that just fine? Why in the world did I do it that way? Why not just use a default email? Now we just have a string. Which one? This one. Yeah, value email. Get rid of that one. Much better. Now for a user form. Email address. Where did they have it? Inside of field, like here. Yeah, if we have an email error. Is all rendering server? Server. I do not want to have React or any of those on the client. So if we do have JavaScript on the client, it'll be very specific. It'll be for functionality that adds to the page. So, but yeah, it's not a single page app. So nothing like Vue or React, nothing like that. The JavaScript I see being added is probably going to be when you're editing a widget, right? Editing something on the page. So it'll be very specific to that. So email error. And then we'll have password error. Oops. Oh, you know what I forgot today? Keycaster. Grab it. There we go. I really want to try to rely on the performance of Cloudflare. It's an edge network, how that scales. I want the client to be like thin and snappy, like just enough. All right, this would be password error. Let's see. And here we would have rules there. Just so happens that they have the same name, so I'm gonna abuse the power of copy and paste here. That maybe we should come up with something a little smaller than this. So we're removing a cookie from the jar, mapping it to well, we're getting the string out of it and transposing it. Does it make sense to have like a remove string instead of having the map and the transpose and all that every time? I guess we would still have to return a result to a string because it's possible that it would fail. Where's the HTML macro coming from? Yes, that is coming from mod, M-A-U-D. This place here. We had been using a different one, but this one is much more minimal, and it has a tiny runtime. It is fantastic. It's very fast. So, perfect match for us. All right. Rules error. Oh, that's right. No, you're welcome. You're welcome. But I don't know. I'm seeing this repetition. It's just driving me nuts. Because what if this looked like remove string like that? I know we're having like a minimal interface on cookie jar. Of add, remove. And then we have this nice little, you know, cookie wrapper that does the decoding and all that stuff. But I think I'm going to function remove string. Cookie is going to be equal to self.remove name. Okay. Oh, actually, let me just self-remove that and grab that. But we don't know if it's an option. All right. Why is this an issue now? Oh, because it's not mutable. Why was that? Where's that being called? Here. An event at that point is a mutable reference. Hmm. Oh, interesting. Remove the string on this one with an unwrapper default. Nice. That tightens that up quite a bit. What next? Let's make sure that those show up here. Let's get that running again. What would I expect the radius of an end gun to be? The largest circle that fits inside, or the smallest that fits around it? How are you using it in collision detection? Because if that's the case, then it's around it. I think it depends on the use case. Are you trying to keep things inside of it? Outside of it? Oh, you need to store it in a file. I see. Interesting. Well, an ngon is here. We'll just, it's our line tool. All right, let's say you have three, right? Let's say you have a triangle, right? You have some sort of center point, right? Is this how you're describing it? You have some sort of center point, and then you need to know that basically the distance from center to the point. And these are always the same length? Because I'd store the point and then the length and then the rotation. instead of the 3 points. I mean, as long as they're all equilateral. Is that a thing with n-gons? You can have like an equilateral n-gon? Because n-gons are always equilateral, aren't they? Because, yeah, then you have rotation. To the corner. Yeah, to the corner, because the way that you would end up drawing it is always from corner to corner. Because if you do it to the side, then you'd have, in order to redraw this, I'd have to figure out, okay, well, where are the corners going to be in that case? I think the sides is here is just a side effect of where the corners are. Yeah, especially when drawing this thing, because you just go out that far, hit a point, rotate n degrees for whatever your end gon is, drop another point, rotate again, drop another point, right? Timed out. All right, here we go again. New user. You know what? Let's just do nothing first. So it's a good test. Ooh, there must be an email address. This is required. Nice, okay. And if we do 1, good. And we want the value though. Not the password. But this and this should come back. Yep, that should be filled in. So, in users, when you're creating one, I kind of want to have like the form data go 2 cookies, right? Oh, hold on a sec. All right. Hey, how's it going? What in the world is that? So, Felix, what's going on there? Looks like your keyboard got squished. Oh, how have I found Rust to be like on backend development? Very, very fun, actually. It's been really good. Note length. Yeah, I like the tooling. I like the testing. I like the iteration. In fact, I need to get testing figured out for this. This one's a little odd though because Cloudflare is involved. and some of the pieces aren't available for like local testing. So if we did this, we definitely want to take all of our form fields except for password and send them back. So maybe we could take. See, unfortunately, we lose post data here. Oh, and thank you for that. Thank you for the follow. Is it John? No. Uh, See, I actually want post data. I want to be able to get these things out now without having to parse it again. Well, the data's gone. So if there is an error and I'm sending stuff back, we need the cookies and the other pieces. Maybe we add something here. Just like with validate, right, or required. Take a list of names. I don't know, values 4 or something. Um, because I want two sets of data now. Now I want to have the errors and the form fields that should be sent back, right? Oh, is it just true? No, answer. You wrote a couple projects on Express. It just feels painful to write and configure. Oh, yeah. I've never used Express. Everything we've done here is pretty much from the ground up, including like our routing. Um, wrote this based on the Rocket routing from rocket.rs. All right. Just say new. So the first thing that we will add to that, it needs to be mutable. I guess we could extend that. It still needs to be mutable. Huh. It's append. Another vector. No. Let's just do it this way. Error to errors. Okay. Push that. Get rid of this here. Return that. Now we need the fields that they're asking for. Okay. These are like names or something. Creates cookies or values and errors. Errors. We'll have the name of that. And names is a list of the cookies. I don't know. Yeah. For name and names. Now at this point we have to get the cookie or get the value out. Then we end up pushing this into there like so. This is really just going to be name dot into and value. Oh, that's right. And this might be option. So this is more of an if let sum. Then we push it. Oops. There we go. Oh, my chat's not showing the closing parentheses. Is this intentional? No. No, it's not. Hey, the Id of Alan. How you doing? Yeah. The last character. Yeah. There's a bug there. It's all right. All right. So now we get the cookies and the names that we care about. We can roll them all in. So in this case, or we get an error, and we want to do event.cookiejar.fill with cookies. All right, now we can choose extra pieces to come back. Now this is on setup, right? So on setup, if there is an error, we definitely want email to be sent back. How's it going today? Actually, pretty good. Pretty good. So now email will be sent back. Cannot finish the setup, yada yada. Okay. Let's double check on setup template email. So we do get that out of the cookie jar. Where was that being set in here? Did I miss that somehow? I don't see it there. Email. Looks like we had just missed that. Okay. What's going on there? Hmm. How about this one? Session login. Email password. We definitely want email. Okay. Now email is going to be included in the response if that fails. Oh, that's so much nicer. How's it going today? Yeah. How's it going for you guys? It's Thursday. I got another 25 minutes or so I can go. When I say unwrap, it's checked above. Yes, that is. That is an implicit guarantee. That's me saying that later when I come through and and I'll validate these unwraps, right? Because sometimes you'll toss an unwrap in there just to see, like just to prototype something out, right? So I'll go through and do a check every now and then, and I will document every single unwrap. And in this case, these are required to be inside of post data at this point. So it would have gone through this and returned early. Hence the comment. I mean, realistically, I could maybe even avoid the unwrap by saying, unwrap or default, right? And then I'd still have a string. But is it normal to have those informal guarantees in Rust? It can be, yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing that says you have to do it. Because we could have gone unwrap or default here, and that would have provided us with a string at the very end. So, oh, in this case, I would have had to clone it and then do some extra stuff, but cloned, right? And I didn't feel like cloning it. Very sound formalized language. Uh, so if you look into, let's say, hmm, what is a, oh, vector maybe. Unsafe here. I'm looking for something that uses, like here, right? This is a safe function that internally uses some unsafe code. And the reason that they can use this unsafe code here is because they are guaranteeing via visual inspection that this is correct. So without me actually understanding it, right? What are they doing here? They're into raw parts with alloc. I don't know what that does. Looks like they're returning the pointer length, capacity, and allocator. But they're reading a pointer from this allocator and returning it. So in Rust, you tend to have the compiler do most of everything for you, like all the checking. And you should definitely rely on that and very heavily rely on that. And I skirted that way back over there because I was avoiding the allocation. Yeah. We could probably improve this, but it's just returning a reference to something inside of here. I mean, we could maybe improve this with a take, right? And then unwrap our default on a take. Actually, I like the idea of a take. Um, for the take, we need to get the position of it. So self dot date. Let's see position because this is a vector and we don't want to have to shift all the remaining pieces. What we end up doing is just swapping it in. So whatever's in the last place gets swapped forward. Self.data iter position. Okay, and v. I know. Now, how do we want to map that position? Position.map. Oh, and Child's TV. Thank you for the follow. Are there any other declaration operators in Rust other than let? You have const. Yep. See, I'm trying to avoid the closure. I only want the closure if I know it's going to get inlined. Wait, let's just match it. Self.data dot swap remove position. How would I explain const versus let in Rust? Is someone familiar with the difference in JavaScript? Um, hmm. It's interesting because constant JavaScript, right? So when we talk about constant JavaScript, it's not like a true const like in C++ or C or even Rust, right? A constant JavaScript is a little bit of a weak const. So in JS, if you said const foo equals, you know, some object, you could still do foo.bar equals true, right? Because it's JavaScript and like this here will work. What doesn't work, right, is if you did um, foo equals, bar true, right? It'll say, hey, no, you can't do that. Foo is const. Okay. It doesn't make them immutable. Um, it keeps you from reassigning the pointer. It's easier to talk about it in pointers. I'm trying to, yeah. So yeah, you can't reassign the pointer here. And in Rust, it is completely immutable, right? Um, actually, is it? It is not. You can have a mutable const in Rust. So you can actually do a const mutable foo in Rust. Um, okay. Now in Rust, when you say that something is const, right? It's it ends up getting defined, and I would like to be able to check this on the docs, but here I'm gonna do my explanation, then we'll check in the docs and see if I'm correct. Um, but it ends up being set up outside of um, kind of at compile time, right? So if you had something that was const, the compiler would just say, okay, you've got this thing, it exists, I'm going to put it in the data section of the binary, and then if it wanted to inline that, it could. If it wanted to leave it in the binary, in the data section, then just point to it, the compiler could also do that, right? But it's typically not mutable unless you make a mutable const, in which case you end up with something that's a little bit more like a JavaScript const. Um, but const mutable foo in Rust, I believe, still works. Sorry, my daughter. Um, let's look up the language here, language spec in Rust, because I believe it's very similar to why. Let's see. Are there any good examples of why you might use a mutable const? Yes, yes. So let's say no. We actually do that in a couple places. Um, you might want a mutable const for doing something that gets maybe lazily like a. Let's say you had a global singleton that's lazily initialized, right? That would be a mutable const. Um, right. That's one of the best examples I can think of. Something that might be really expensive to calculate and you only do it once. Um, and it's just globally available. Let's see, I believe, if we look at crates.io and we go to one cell, let's go to the code on this one. Oh, I should have gotten to the docs. It would have taken us to the code faster. I just want to see the impl. Oh, I forgot. This is a macro, isn't it? Or not? No, it's not a macro. So they're using unsafe cell. So for mutable const, you can mutate the object it's pointing at, or you can only mutate the pointer. You can do both. You can reassign to that location. Let's see. Well, this is static. This isn't const. I was thinking static. I think I've just explained half of both of those. My apologies. Um, because static would live outside in the data section, basically. But, let's look it up. Come on. There we go. So we want the language book, Rusty book. Maybe not. Yeah, I was conflating const with static. Optionally named constant value, so they're not mutable, which is not associated with a specific memory location. So, um, so okay, I I remember now. Um, with const, it's not mutable. I was thinking static. So let's say you did have the same thing in Rust, right? So let's say you had const foo, and that had some type, right? That was like a U32, and you assign some sort of number to it, right? Like pi. Yeah. And then you end up using that. The compiler is free then to take that and replace that wherever you use it. So if you said, oh, you know what, I want 2 pi, so 2, let, radius or let circumference equals like 2 times foo, which is pi, times whatever the radius is, right? And let's say you also had a const for the radius. Here, let's rename this to pi. And this, let's say, was also const. And like, okay, let's say it's 5. Okay. 5.0 because they're floats. And this would be an F32. All right. Now here, C, the compiler actually calculates all of this at compile time instead of at runtime. So in Rust, so hold on just a minute, please. Please. Thank you. In Rust, you end up with being able to calculate things that, you spend a little bit more time compiling it, just a fraction of a millisecond more time to build something like this. But you end up with C being a value, right? It's just done. And then let's say you could also define const functions. Okay. And if you're passing const um, values to const functions, it can actually do all of the computation at compile time too. So this could be, I don't know, half, right? Const function half given an F32 returns an F32. And this here is just value divided by um, Q.O. Right? So then wherever you use this, if you are using it with a const value, it's all calculated ahead of time. In fact, you can only use this with const values. So yeah, big difference from const in JavaScript. Const in JavaScript is more, I'd say, like just let. Oh yeah, that's an implicit return. There's no semicolon at the end. If you toss a semicolon at the end, you have to include the return. So here, one form versus the other form, which is this. Hold on a second. All right. But yeah, const is, let's see, what's a better analog for const from JavaScript to Rust? Um, yeah, const in Rust is like its value is just set, which is really cool because you can have like const arrays, const iterators, and things like that that just all get stamped out at compile time, which is just fantastic. Um, what is, oops, how do we do, yeah, there isn't a great analog for const here. Because in Rust, let's say you had something else. Um, what would that be? Let foo equals whatever your object is, your struct, right? Then it's immutable, right? You can't assign to it, but you can't do anything to it. So you couldn't call anything on it that mutated it, which would be different than const foo, right? So it's just a little stronger, but I think this these two are the best analogs, but Rust gives you stronger guarantees on mutation. Um, Not the best answer, I admit, but thank you for reminding me what const is. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And I really don't mind. It's it's good for me to go through those things too. So what is this complaining about? Oh, it wants we just want the value one. All right, then we can go back over to session. And we could say take and then unwrapper default. And then we don't have that variant, that possibility of crashing the server. It'll give us an empty string if by some possibility it doesn't exist. Likely to happen only if these guarantees change. In Rust, you'd probably see uh let's see, you could hmm I don't know. I do like using take though, but you'll end up writing it eventually. Oh, nice. Very nice. Oh, and in this case, we're gonna have to send back um, email, password, roles, archived, basically everything. And here, yeah, if they exist, basically the same set. It's not declared as mutable. Uh, Now what's going on here is referencing local data. Which one? That's a string. That's a string. Ah, that one there. This one. Hmm. There we go. Unused variable v. Oh, that's right. It's good to check those warnings. Sometimes they can actually be very serious. Mostly serious in my sense in that I messed up some logic. Okay. Let's run that one more time. Just waiting for the listen down below. Okay. Let's reload. Come on. There it goes. So if we save nothing, okay, fine. Save that. Oh, where's our email address? Oh, because I didn't do the full wire. No, this was in form, right? User form. Yeah, we're kind of doing double duty for the user form. We're using it for edit and create. And in this case, we end up with the user email here. But this is only the case when we have this option. So, see, this is if it's being edited, right? But if it's being created and there's an error, then we should use that first. Event dot post data? No. Cookie jar dot remove string email. Okay, but if that does not exist, then we will use the one in the URL. Your next job, you'll definitely look for Rust. Yeah, that'd be so much fun. All right. Unwrap or else give it a function. See, in this case, it's. Oh, but it's possible that it's empty. Oh, man. This might be an and, huh? I gotta get going, though. My time has come. Um, am I the only person doing Rust today? Let's see, who else shall we raid? Who do we got? We got Tej. Oh, Soding is making a text editor. What do you guys think? Right, Soding. All right, y'all. Well, it's been good. I got to get on to some work stuff. Got an early morning for work. And hope to see you again. So until next time, bye bye.